Welcome, everyone. Thanks for hopping on board the webinar today. We're talking with Alex Kohls with the Small Business Administration. So obviously, folks have a lot of questions about the funding options that are out right now. So Alex is going to be doing an overview of the different pieces, and then we're really hoping to open it up to Q&A. So those questions that you didn't have before, but you have now that you're actively in that application process, we'll have you guys asking those. I'm going to mute everyone except for the presenter to start off, and then you should be able to see in the participant screen, there's a place where you can raise your hand if you have a question, and I can unmute you to ask, and you can also type questions into the chat, and we'll be fielding those and answering those as well. So I'm going to hand it over to Alex. Take it from here. Take us away.
Okay. All right. Thanks a lot. I appreciate the opportunity to speak today, and thank you everybody for joining me this afternoon. So actually what I have today is a completely new presentation. Have not used it yet, but it's basically the same information, just a different looking format. So I'm going to bring that up, and I will send this to Audrey afterwards, and she can get that out to the group so that you'll have access to this anytime you need it. So let me bring up my presentation. Everybody see that okay? Yep, okay, good. Okay, so this is just a couple of things I'm going to talk about today, and then I'm going to spend a little more time on the Paycheck Protection Program and the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program, but I will touch on a couple of the other things. So the first two slides, this is something that you should just come back and refer to after this. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this, but this is a way to kind of help with your cash flow with your business. If you currently do have loans out there, it's just the banks and the SBA are willing to work with a lot of companies to talk about this on how to free up cash flow during this disaster. So there's just a couple of slides on that, but you can come back and refer to this, and if you have questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. But so the first one I want to talk about is the Paycheck Protection Program. As we know, this is a very new program. It's been around for about a little over a week now, and these are not direct loans. So you do need to go to a lender to get access and to apply for this program. And if you are having trouble finding a lender, I will also provide Audrey with a list of banks that are accepting new clients that they will accept you to do this program. But essentially, this program, there's no cost to apply for it. There are no fees guaranteed for it. There are no personal guarantees and no collateral needed. So this is definitely the lowest kind of bar program to be able to get you money so that you can pay your employees and keep them on your payroll. So the loan amount is up to $10 million. And the interest rate, if it does turn into a loan, is 1% with a maturity of 2 years. But if you use this, at least 75% of the money you receive for this program is used for payroll expenses, then the whole loan will be forgiven. So it won't even turn into a loan. It'd more likely just be a grant at that point. But you do have to use at least 75% of the proceeds go toward payroll. And so you can use it for, as you see under use of funds, payroll costs, including benefits, interest on mortgage, rent, and utilities. Any payments that do turn into a loan, there's no payment required for the first 6 months, and there's no prepayment penalties. And for those of you who may have several locations of restaurants or hotels, each location, as long as they have under 500 employees at that location, you can do more than one application. So you would have to go through an existing 7A lender, which as I mentioned, I will supply Audrey with a list of those. Or you can go to the website there to find current lenders by zip code. Other regulated lenders will also be available to do this, but they have to actually apply themselves to participate in the program and then be enrolled. So more lenders are coming on board, but for the most current list, I would go to that website. So moving on to the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, or EIDL program. So this program's been around quite a few weeks already. We've gone through a couple iterations of our application portal, but right now we've had the current one up for about a little over 2 weeks now. And it's pretty easy to fill out. You just go in. I think it's a 5-page or 5-step process. Requires no documentation up front, and it's fairly fast to apply. So it is for those companies, and this goes also for the Paycheck Protection Program. That is for small businesses, according to our definition. If you're unsure, you would go to do the size standards at our website. And that'll help walk you through the process of if you need to go by number of employees or your net worth. Self-employed individuals, 1099s, are eligible to apply. Private nonprofits and even religious organizations are eligible to apply for this program. So the ones that are ineligible, basically an organization that relies solely on donations to carry out their programs cannot apply. Gambling concerns, that for those of you who may get a third or more of their annual gross revenue from gambling, are not eligible as well. So how much can you borrow? So there's been some information out there that has been confusing, to say the least, and not just for the businesses and the service providers out there, but even for internal SBA folks. So initially it was loan amounts up to $2 million. And then we were told about a week and a half ago that the limit was capped at $15,000. But then we found out last night that no, there is no cap limit except the $2 million. So today, at this point, that's where it stands, that the loan amounts are up to $2 million. And you can get a loan advance of up to $10,000. And so that loan advance is forgiven completely. So it is a grant right off the top. And how they decide how much each business gets, they go by a number of full-time equivalent employees. So you'll get $1,000 per employee up to $10,000. But for the loan portion, the interest rates are fixed at 3.75 for small businesses, 2.75 for nonprofits. Terms are up to 30 years, and the first payments are deferred for the first year. So what can you use the EIDL funds for? These are working capital loans, so they can also be used for payroll. They can be used for accounts payable, other bills, fixed debts. What you need to keep in mind is that, yes, I think I'm going to answer some questions here. Yes, you can apply for both the EIDL program and the Paycheck Protection Program. But if you use both, you cannot use them for the same expenses. So the suggestion is, if you are going to use both, use the payroll protection program just for payroll. That way you know it's going to be completely forgiven. Anything else you have, any other bills, accounts payable that you need to pay, use the EIDL funds. That way they're completely separate, and the vast majority of what you're borrowing, quote unquote, will be forgivable. EIDL funds are not to be used for business expansion. So there's no purchasing real estate, there's no refinancing debt, there's no buying new equipment. This is meant to just weather the storm that we're in right now. So for the EIDL loan, there is a little more that goes into it than the Paycheck Protection. We will look at your credit history. We're going to look at your ability to repay. And even though it's on there, we have to put this on there. The eligibility, don't worry about the eligibility because that's just saying you have to be physically located in a disaster area, and the whole country is a disaster area. So every state has declared a disaster. So if you have a physical location in the U.S., then you're eligible in those terms. So for this program, the collateral, anything over $25,000 does require collateral. We cannot deny your application if there's a lack of collateral, but we do require the borrower to pledge what is available. And we do prefer real estate when that's available. But we'll make every effort to make the loan work for businesses. So unlike the Paycheck Protection Program and our typical and traditional programs, this is a direct loan from the U.S. government. So there is a website you go to. You see the link at the bottom there, the COVID-19 relief.sba.gov. And that's where you would go to the 5-step application. Now I also want to touch on a couple other programs that we have available for small businesses. One is the Small Business Debt Relief. This is basically for those companies who have a 7A loan or will be getting a 7A loan prior to September 27th of this year, that the SBA will cover 6 months of principal and interest payments on those loans. So this is a great opportunity that, yeah, we have those other programs, those are great, but if that's not enough money or you need it for a different purpose, this is a perfect opportunity to utilize one of our traditional loan programs. And then we also have the Express Bridge Loan Program. So this is for, again, you would need to work with a lender, an SBA Express lender, and these loans are up to $25,000 and they have little paperwork involved. So it's, you get that loan advance of up to $10,000. That's all well and good, but a lot of businesses need more than that. And what this loan will do is it will give you access to a greater amount of money. And then once you receive that EIDL loan, you would pay it off immediately. So it's just an opportunity to get a little bit more money a lot quicker so that you can pay some bills and get up to date that way. So if you need help, don't hesitate to reach out to our Disaster Customer Service Center. There's a 1-800 number and an email, or to one of the SBA's resource partners. So kind of like the Small Business Development Center, SCORE, there are a lot of resource partners out there. You can go to sba.gov to find the one closest to you, or you could reach out to myself or one of my coworkers. The last slide, going back to here, the last slide is going to be a list of my contact information along with some of my coworkers. Before calling the 1-800 number, emailing Disaster Customer Service, reach out to one of us. We'll be able to help you quicker and already know most of the answers that people will be asking. So here's just some more financial tools and resources for small businesses, just to learn more about what's out there. Don't forget to reach out to your local economic development organizations at the county, city level, because some have developed their own funding programs and grant programs to help their small businesses. And so, again, here's the last slide of some phone numbers and emails so that you can reach out to somebody locally to get some assistance. Let me, here we go. Okay, and again, I'm going to provide that PowerPoint to Audrey afterwards, and she'll get that out to the group. But yeah, I'd be more than happy now to take some questions on whatever people are having trouble with.
I was going to say, yeah, if you want to be on that list to get the presentation sheet right after this, please drop your email in the chat, and I'll kick that out this afternoon. We also have a weekly newsletter that goes out, all things entrepreneurship in the Dayton region, so make a note if you want me to add you to that list as well. But otherwise, feel free to drop some questions in the chat, or like I said, do that hand raise. We got one. Perfect. Dan,
Okay,
take it away. Yeah, Dan, you should be unmuted. I'll say, David, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to try. Dan, yeah. I'm going to be working to get you on here. I'm not sure what's going on, but David, go ahead and jump in, and then I'll work with Dan.
Sure. Thank you. Thanks for the great information, Alex. I appreciate it today.
You're welcome.
Question. My company is structured as a sole proprietorship, LLC.
Mm-hmm.
No full-time employees.
Mm-hmm.
I pull a draw, and every one of my team are 1099s.
Okay.
As of last Friday, they were telling us that, now we can apply for some of this, but the message on exactly what's required and what the numbers look like has been a little muddy. Can you shed any light on that?
Well, I know that you're eligible to apply. Right. I do know that for sure. Now on the Treasury website, and again, this is a document that I can provide to Audrey, that there is a fact sheet for borrowers, and it kind of lists in there on how to figure out what to submit, which documents are, and what numbers to use, and for like the dates. People have asked a lot about, well, what are the dates that I need to use for my payroll? That will give you a good idea of what to expect.
Okay.
And I'll, again, this is something else I'll give to Audrey, is the Treasury maintains a list of frequently asked questions. And we were told today, because usually the SBA comes up with standard operating procedures to list everything in there. Like if somebody has a question about one of our traditional loan programs, we refer to that. We'll look through there like, okay, well, here, that's what it says you have to do. But they're not developing one for the Paycheck Protection Program. What they're doing is they're relying on those FAQs through Treasury. I can give you that list, and it will specifically tell you what you need to do to apply and how to do that. I know that you cannot use the 1099s as your payroll.
Right.
because they are eligible themselves
On their own, correct.
on their own. Yeah.
But with
Yeah.
so much focus on understanding payroll and trying to calculate that side of it, when technically there is no payroll for a company
Right.
built like mine.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a little confusing at that point trying to understand.
It is. It is. And after you kind of look through those, if you still have questions, don't hesitate to email or call me, and
Okay,
I'll help you through it.
fantastic. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do you have some other specific questions? There was one in the chat from Catherine. So Catherine, I'm going to unmute you if you want to jump in with that question. Well, so in the chat, I'm a 1099 in Ohio. We have no organized PUA yet. Can I do a, oh, sorry, my chat jumped. Can I do a PPP and later a PUA?
I'm not, what's a PUA? Does anybody, if Catherine or if you know what it is, Audrey, I'm not sure what a PUA is.
I'm not sure. Let's see if I can. Pandemic unemployment assistance.
Okay, so the whole point of the Paycheck Protection Program is for businesses to maintain their payroll and for to get their employees off of the unemployment roll. So even though it's still government money paying the employees, it's from a different pot. And so what they're trying to do is for businesses to maintain their employees. So if you cannot receive both the PPP and unemployment. So if your job is available, and this may not be directly to you, Catherine, but just in general, if your employees are telling you, I can make more money being on unemployment than coming back to work, because we have heard that a lot because they've increased the benefits for unemployment, you have to make sure that they know that, hey, if your job is available, you're not eligible for unemployment. So you can make them come back to work or find another job, essentially. I know it's maybe not the best practice, but it puts you in a tough situation too. If you're trying to pay them and to get through this, that they're not helping you either as the employer.
So Catherine said Catherine said she is a sole proprietor, so no employees.
Yeah, so either way, I mean, if she is not able to receive the Paycheck Protection Program and receive unemployment benefits. So you just kind of have to decide which one you want to do, Catherine. Keeping in mind, I know this is something that some companies have been doing, is just explaining to employees or just thinking about it to yourself, Catherine, that the unemployment benefits are not a long-term solution. They will end at some point. So if you can get your business back up running, then you might as well do that now and get off the unemployment and utilize the Paycheck Protection Program. I do want to mention too, another thing that comes up is that if you have already done layoffs and you need to quote unquote rehire your employees, that does not mean that they have to physically report to work. If you're a restaurant, a bar, that you're unable to bring your employees back because you can't really open, it's just the fact that they're on your payroll now and you're paying them as the business owner. So once things start easing and lifting off those restrictions, you have your employees on board already and don't have to go through that as well. So just to keep that in mind.
So Catherine said, I'm going to spit a few questions at you at once here. Catherine said that she'd heard Ohio said it would be mid-May to end of May before a website would be built to apply for the pandemic unemployment assistance. And then Fran asked, is there any advantage as an owner to take a furlough? So I'll let you do those two, and then I've got one from John as well that looks like a little different. So I'll let you tackle those two and then jump back.
Okay. So as far as the PUA and having a website built, I really don't know anything about that one because that's a state program and I'm not familiar with that. I can't comment a whole lot about it, but the Paycheck Protection, that money is going out now and has been going out. So we got some updated numbers today that the SBA as a whole nationally, we have processed 1 million applications, over 1 million applications, and have dispersed $250 billion out to small businesses already. So that money is going out now, and so is the EIDL money for those of you who have maybe applied a while back. That money is all now going out. So you would get your money for the Paycheck Protection a lot earlier than mid-May, and the PUA would be available if that's true about the website. Any advantage as an owner to take a furlough? I would assume that you might have employees, Fran, that that's a business. You do. Okay, so that's your call as a business owner. One thing, to keep in mind though, is if you get the Paycheck Protection, you use it the way it's intended, spend more than 75% on the costs, payroll costs, it's going to be completely forgiven. And your employees are still getting paid the same amount that they would as if they were working. But that's really a business decision. So I could see it both ways. So I don't know which one has an advantage over the other, except that it just depends what works for your business.
Thank you.
Welcome.
So we had one question from John Kelly. He said he has applied for the PPP. Should he wait until he finds out if he gets that to file for EIDL? They're an S Corp with 1 full-time and 2 part-time. I think you're unmuted if you want to jump in.
I would go ahead and apply for EIDL as well. If you think that you're going to use it, or you can wait to hear back about the Paycheck Protection. You can use both, as I mentioned, just not for the same expenses. But if you think, they could come back to you with the Paycheck Protection and just say, well, based on the numbers, the employees that you have, you're only eligible for, X amount, but you were looking for a different amount. The EIDL may be able to kind of push you over that edge to give you enough money. Plus, the EIDL could take on some of those costs and that 25% that you're not allowed to spend over for like rent and other bills if you think you might be getting close on the Paycheck Protection. Because the whole point of that is you basically want that as a grant. So you want to stay within those percentages.
Yeah, I was going to use the PPP for payroll and then possibly most of the EIDL for some fixed cost we have.
Yeah.
Which is, some small credit cards, truck payment.
Yeah.
Thing. I was probably only going to ask for about, $20,000 from EIDL.
Okay. That's how I would do it. That way, for sure that payroll, that's all that you're spending the payroll protection on is payroll. That's going to be forgiven. So that'll only help with the EIDL. And plus, there's no cost to apply for EIDL. and you're under no obligation to even take it. So if they come to you and say, well, you're eligible for this much, you just say, no, I'm not interested, or just not follow through with it. They're not going to force you to take that EIDL money. So
the grant part of the EIDL is only $1,000 per full-time employee?
$1,000 per full-time equivalent.
Okay. Because
So
my two part-times only work about 10 to 20 hours a week.
Okay, I'm not sure of the number of hours they're looking at. I would assume you would get 1,000 for both, but I can't say that for sure until they look at it.
And then anything under 25, they don't require any collateral?
That's correct.
Okay. Will that make it easier to go through the loan process?
Probably. I think they're now that there was a lot that we've been trying to figure out. So it's taken a while to get the process going, but that process is now moving pretty fast. So I would think it wouldn't take nearly as long as if you had a collateral one, but I think either one's going to go pretty fast relative to a usual loan. Okay,
so I'll go ahead and apply for the EIDL before I get the PPP then. That makes more sense to you?
Yeah, that's how I would do it personally.
All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Looks like a few folks have hopped off, got answers to their questions. Anybody who's still on, do you have some specific questions, concerns? Georgiana, you are unmuted. Jump in.
Oh, thank you. Okay, my question is where I'm confused about is with the EIDL, the $1,000 per employee. Because like some of the other folks on this chat, I don't have any employees other than, I guess I don't know that I would consider myself because I'm the owner. I did apply for the EIDL and I do have a confirmation number for it, but since I don't have any employees, will I still qualify for the $10,000 grant?
My understanding and what has been communicated to us is that if you're a sole proprietor, no employees, you would still receive $1,000, basically yourself as a full-time employee.
Okay, so basically instead of getting the $10,000 grant, I'll get $1,000, but that $1,000 is a grant. Am I correct?
That's correct. That would be a grant.
Okay. Would there be a possibility of getting anything in addition to that from EIDL?
Yeah, I mean, when you go to that website to apply and you click the box to be considered for the up to $10,000 grant, you're actually applying for two different programs. One is the loan advance or the grant, and the other one is the EIDL money, loan money. So they would still contact you later saying, hey, we've reviewed your paperwork and you're eligible for a $20,000 loan. Then it's up to you whether or not you would want to take that loan or not. But you would still receive that grant, that loan advance, whether or not you're approved or denied the application, you would still receive that money.
Okay, and I'm sorry to ask you this question, but because I know things are so busy, do they have any sort of time frame when these applications are being approved?
Well, from the beginning, they said it'd be 2 to 3 weeks, but people that we know who were like some of the first people in Ohio to apply, because it was before Ohio was even declared a disaster, they were calling us to get everything in a row. We're just being approved, Monday morning, because it just took that long to get the whole process down And so now that we have that down, I would imagine people will start hearing much quicker. And we're bringing in extra support from FEMA and everything to help us do processing. So I would imagine it'd be still the 2 to 3 week time frame, but it could be a lot quicker than that as well.
Thank you so much for your help.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And if people have questions afterwards, because as you digest it, just don't hesitate to send me an email, give me a call. You get a quicker response emailing, to be honest, because my phone just rings off the hook. So it's hard to get back to people via voicemail. But however you want to do it, I will get back to you at one point or another. Just may take a day or two with voicemail.
All right. Kick it out one more time. I think there's somebody new might have hopped on. So if you've got some questions, raise your hand or drop it in the chat. But anybody else with some specific questions for Alex that wants to jump in?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Hey there. I apologize. I joined late. I guess so. I apologize if somebody's already asked this, but I am just trying to have a better understanding as a sole proprietor if I should be seeking unemployment insurance or if I should be seeking the economic injury disaster loan or the payroll protection.
Well, that's your ultimate decision. With the unemployment, the benefits are really great right now, and but that is a short-term solution to what's going on. The Paycheck Protection, you can still pay, get paid, and if you use it just for the payroll costs, then it'll be completely forgiven. So it's just up to you. I don't know what works best for you as an individual. So it's pretty much a business's call as to what they would want to do.
Yeah, sure. Just to clarify, I'm sole proprietor, no employees, so it's just myself. So it seemed like I was in a mix on which one was the best fit. But
no, you're completely eligible to apply for the Paycheck Protection as a sole proprietor.
Even if I don't have a W-2, I don't have it listed as a W-2 payroll.
Yeah, that's my understanding.
Okay.
I know you jumped on late, and that's fine, but I did mention earlier, there's several things I'm going to be sending to Audrey that she's going to send out to the group, and there will be more information in there on how to figure out the amounts you need to send in or what kind of documentation you need to send in, as not only as a business but as like a sole proprietor.
Okay. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, Ben, drop your email in the chat, and I'll add you to that list that I'll kick out all that information out to this afternoon. Any final takers? Going once? Going twice? All right, I think we've managed our Q&A today. Thank you so much, Alex, for coming and joining and jumping on a webinar to answer questions for folks today. I'll touch base with you after, and as Alex said, I'll make sure that we get a list with the presentation and some of those banking lists out to everyone this afternoon.
Okay, well, thanks a lot, Audrey. I appreciate the opportunity. Take care.